All right, here's solutions to Chapter 1 homework. And I'm just going to kind of go over the big ideas. The answers are all in the back, or at least on most of these. But I'm just going to add to those as we go. So we'll do these sections at a time. So, oops. So this is section 1.2. Okay, so this first group of questions is asking whether the study is an observational study or an experiment. Well, the difference is in an experiment, you are somehow, some way imposing a treatment. Whether that treatment is taking some medicine or doing some exercise or whatever it might be, it's you're imposing some activity, something on a group, and then you're not imposing it, and then you're comparing the results. Now, what your goal is, though, in imposing a treatment, is you want to, in an experiment, you want to keep all other variables equal between the groups. Because if all the other variables are equal between the groups, then if there's a difference, you can say, oh, that difference is because of the treatment. Okay, an observational study. It's exactly what it says. You're just observing. We say oftentimes in the wild. Right? You're just looking at things and going, oh, I'm just going to watch and see what I see. And I'm not imposing a treatment or anything like that. Okay, so that's how we're going to tell the difference between observational studies and experiments in 9 to 12. Okay, 18. Daily coffee consumption. Okay, so they want to compare, they're trying to see if there's an association between daily coffee consumption and the occurrence of skin cancer. So they looked at 93,676 women enrolled in a Women's Health Initiative, or in a Women's Health Initiative observational study, and asked them to, so they're going to report their coffee drinking habits, and then they're going to determine who had skin cancer. So they're going to say, they're asking this question, coffee drinking, skin cancer. Question mark. Okay. So they're just asking those two things, and it says after their analysis, they concluded that 6 or more cups of caffeinated coffee was associated with a reduction of non-melanoma skin cancer. Okay, so question is, what type of an observational study was this? Well, they're collecting it. They're basically looking at this and they're saying, hey, what have you done in the past? What has your coffee drinking habits been? And then we're going to check and see if you have non-melanoma skin cancer. So I'm going to call this a prospective, retrospective study. Sorry about that. Retro meaning we're going to look back and collect data. So we're looking back and collecting people's data on their coffee drinking and then going from there. Okay, we got the explanatory versus response. The explanatory is going to be coffee, actually caffeinated drinks. The response variable is the cancer. We're trying to see if there's a relationship between coffee and the cancer. Now we cannot say cause and effect, obviously. Okay, because there's so many other variables that could contribute to this. Maybe coffee drinkers do something else that might be causing the cancer, not the coffee itself. Okay, and in their report they said after adjusting for various demographic and lifestyle variables, it was associated. So those are some lurking variables that could cause the association. So maybe people that live in a certain part of the country tend to drink more coffee and are outside more, so they have more skin cancer. So by eliminating some of these lurking variables, we can make make an association, quite possibly, of the prevalence of skin cancer and drinking the coffee. All right. Television in the bedroom. If you're having TVs in the bedrooms, is that associated with obesity? Meaning, I guess you take your food back and lay in your bed and eat while you watch TV, I guess. I don't really know. So they did this with French adolescents, 379, and determined that the mass index of adolescents who had a TV in their bedroom was significantly higher than those who did not. So does a TV in your bedroom cause you to be fatter? And the answer is no. There might be other issues. We don't know what that is, but I know that there might be some sort of just a relationship between the two, and now we have to do an experiment to find out why. Okay, this is what's called a cross-sectional study. That's when you just look at something right now. This is not as common a term as retrospective and prospective, but cross-sectional is where you're just collecting information about individuals at a specific point in time. All right, response variable. And explanatory is TV in the room. The response variable is maybe your weight, or actually it's your body mass is what they looked up in here, right? Your mass index, your BMI. Okay. What sort of lurking variables might be affecting the results of the study? Ooh, that's a good one. What are some variables that might affect your body mass index? Could be, of course, genetics, or their, what are the parents? What do the parents look like, and are they overweight or whatnot? Could it be because you're overweight that's why you want a TV in your room, because you don't want to be out with everybody else, or you don't want to go out and do things outside? Maybe it's the other way around. Could it be you have a TV in your room? What are some reasons why you might have a TV in your room? Maybe you have a TV in your room because there's so much other stuff going on in your house that's where you go to hang out and be. And if you're stuck in your room because you can't do anything, it might not be the TV that's forcing you to be obese. It's the fact that you can't go out and do anything else outside in your house or anything else. Or maybe you live in an area where you can't go outside and play or whatnot. So lots of little different things that could be affecting those two factors, whether you have a TV in a room or overweight. Okay, the results remain significant under the adjustment for socioeconomic status. So that just means if we take out socioeconomic status, because if you have more money, you're more likely to have TVs in your rooms, quite possibly. You're more likely to have access to foods that are fat. So maybe that's a lurking variable. But if we get rid of that lurking variable, if we adjust for it, we take that into account, they're saying the results still are significant. So all that means is socioeconomic is not a factor in this study, but there still could be others. Okay. Can we conclude that having a television causes higher body mass? No. Okay. We cannot say that because we just talked about, there could be some other variables that are causing this. Okay. We'd have to do an experiment to see. All right, and 21, last one on 1-2. This is an interesting article when you read this. And the first thing you need to notice is it's someone's opinion. And as you read through it, you can see that opinion coming out where he's basically saying, hey, a lot of these studies and these surveys come out and they're scary. And so that could really freak people out. Cell phones and brain tumor. You can't have a cell phone and people start to panic when the reality is it might be a very small study. Or just one study, and there hasn't been enough other supporting studies to support that. That's what he's talking about, scare science. Okay, and so I just want you to really just to kind of look and say, what type of a study is conducted? What are some lurking variables, and what conclusions can you really say? Okay. Now, this study here, they basically said, hey, we're going to take, let's see, current study, 20,000 Swiss railway workers, so we're only dealing with railway workers, and we basically looked to see, does living by power lines and, what was it, cancer? Yeah, they compared cancer with electromagnetic field exposure. Well, already I can say you're talking about Swiss railway workers. That's a different class or a different type of person that's going to be a Swiss railway worker than doing other jobs. So maybe they're different. Maybe their job is contributing to different cancers and is not the magnetic field exposure. You know, there's lots of different lurking variables there that we could say. So we can't say that, oh, the magnetic field exposure is causing the cancers. For sure. So this right here is just an observational study. We're just observing things, and with an observational study, what we tend to do is we say that gives insight into a possible experiment topic. You might say, hey, based on this study, it looks like there's an association, so let's look into this a little more and see maybe there is cause and effect. So maybe what we should do is go ahead and perform an experiment on this to see. Okay, so when you read stuff like this, man, it's so easy just to say, look at what the science says, and you have to do, we see this nowadays, and you have to be careful about interpreting what the science says and what does it mean. Okay, and how does it apply? And I mean, this is great. They give some great things down here to just, you know, there's been ample studies on smoking, you know, cigarette smoke and cancer. Okay, so stay away from that. We know that. But we don't have very detailed experiment on this. Okay, that's just a study. And I think that happens a lot. We tend to look at, here's some examples, therefore boom. In fact, I'm going to finish on this. I was just talking to a friend the other day about, you know, with COVID and everything, it's in, let's see, it was people getting, that have the vaccine that have gotten COVID. And you hear in the news, oh yeah, so-and-so did this, so-and-so did that, you know, got COVID after having the vaccine, and it makes you think, wow, that's kind of prevalent. What they don't mention is, oh, that's 1 out of 1 million people, or 1 out of 2 million people, you know, and you're way more likely, other things are way more likely to happen that we do all the time when the chances are 1 in a million. Kind of like I said, buying a lottery ticket. People think they're going to win because somebody has to win, but you're really more likely to be killed in a car crash on the way to buy the ticket. But people still drive, right? We're willing to take that risk. Okay, so if we knew the odds a little better, then maybe people would say, hey, I'm willing to take a risk. I got vaccinated, I'm going to go out and be fine. You know, rather than some people that get the vaccine and say, oh, it's still kind of risky, you know. So there you go. Those are things that we need to think about, and that's why understanding statistics is so important. All right, see you next time.